A common theme on this channel has been discussing German camouflage patterns. We've already discussed the first mass-produced German camo pattern, and we've already covered, honestly, the most known being Flecktarn. So today, we're going back in time again to discuss the birthplace of German camo patterns, back to the war to end all wars, World War I. As usual, today's video couldn't just be a simple video on a pattern that there's already thousands of videos and sources about. This pattern, in fact, being so niche again, made it slightly harder to find even the true name of it. For today's video, we are covering Buntfarbenanstrich. Now this camo has quite a few other nicknames. Some know it as the stained glass pattern, others know it as the turtle shell pattern. However, for today's video's sake, we will be calling it Buntfarbenanstrich. With this camo, let's cover the brief history and creation of it. Throughout World War I, the most exposed part of a soldier in a trench was obviously the head. With that being mentioned, many helmets at the time would give a bright shine if they were wet under moonlight, which easily gave soldiers away. Now introducing Buntfarbenanstrich. This pattern's date varies roughly online. The reason for it is since it wasn't a true issued pattern, no gear was field issued with it already. Rather, the pattern was hand painted and not required. Using a World War I model's guide, they claim the pattern saw more and more use in July of 1918. The pattern was for sure likely after 1916, so between then and the end of the war is the general idea of when the pattern was used. Some German sources claim the pattern was used on tanks first in 1916, and then the pattern was moved to helmets in 1918. So I want to say 1918 should roughly be the date that this pattern really was used. So with that being out of the way, let's discuss the actual pattern itself. The name translates to colorful paint in German. With this pattern being hand painted, differences are expected. Since the colors were not enforced, the soldier would often change out colors to suit their terrain the best. The pattern usually consisted of sharp-edged camouflage patches in the colors rust brown, green, and ochre yellow, which were separated from each other with a thick black line. So how did individuals alter this pattern? The ochre yellow color would often be switched out with another shade of green, depending on how much grass was still left, or the color of mud. If the terrain was more rocky, the soldier might use more grays and replace either the brown or green to achieve this. Going off the model guide again, I believe the way they suggest you paint models would be the closest to how soldiers actually painted their helmets. The way it recommends you go about this is adding simple polygon shapes of colors that you would want to choose. Then, you separate them with a dark black line. Honestly, this is seen in most of the helmets that are left over from World War I, and it is a very cool look. So what was this pattern seen on? Well, obviously, this pattern is mostly known for being painted onto helmets. However, as I mentioned earlier, it was also seen on tanks and even trucks throughout the war. Nothing else was issued really in this pattern, so you don't see it on uniforms or anything like that. While there isn't much information out there on this camouflage pattern, I still find it very cool and fascinating because it did give birth to the splitter tarn and other German variants. Because this pattern varies on the individual, here are a few separate examples of how the helmets were painted and the differences you're going to see not only in color, but also the shape and size of the polygons. I do hope to eventually buy one of these helmets myself. With that being said, everything you see in today's video, I just found simply online. If one of these photos is yours, please let me know in the comments and I can totally remove it if you guys don't want it up, or I can give credit as well. Anyways, that ends today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next one. I'm laughing at you, homie. Oh no, who's sorry that I'm nosy. KYS.